All right, let's dive into a really powerful idea from Psalm 20. It's all about where we put our trust when life really starts to squeeze us. It's a question that gets right to the heart of what we truly rely on. So, what does it actually mean to trust in God instead of, well, our own modern day chariots? Let's get into it.
And here it is. This is the core verse for our whole explainer today. Psalm 20, verse 7. This one sentence just draws a huge line in the sand, right? It presents a choice between two completely different ways of facing the world. On one side, you've got chariots and horses. I mean, this was the most powerful, cutting-edge military tech of their day. It's tangible strength you can see and touch. And on the other side, a name. You have to understand, in the Bible, a name is so much more than a label. It represents a person's entire character, their authority, their power.
And that brings us right here to this question. This isn't about what we say we trust in when things are going great. Nope. This is about our gut reaction when the pressure is on. Think about it. You get that email about a project that's due tomorrow, or you're staring at a totally uncertain future after graduation. What is the first thing you grab onto to feel secure? That's the question Psalm 20 makes every single one of us answer.
So let's make this personal. Let's get specific. King David's enemies, they had their war-winning chariots. But what about us? To really get this psalm, we have to figure out what our modern versions are. So let's take a look at some of the chariots we tend to put our faith in today, and maybe start to understand why the psalmist says they're just not going to be enough.
Yeah, I'm guessing some of these look pretty familiar, right? For a lot of us, this is what we pour our lives into. We work so hard for that perfect GPA. We craft that killer resume. We hustle to make the right connections, and we rely on our own brains and our own grit to get ahead. Are these your high-tech weapons for finding success and security in the world? Okay, now to really feel the punch of this psalm, we have to understand when it was used. See, this wasn't some poem written in a quiet room after a big victory. It was something totally different. And knowing its original context is pretty much the key to unlocking what it means for us right here, right now. So get this, Psalm 20 was a proactive declaration of dependence on God. It was a blessing prayed over the king before he ever stepped foot on the battlefield. The people would gather and ask God to answer him in his moment of distress, to send help from on high, to remember all his offerings. So, the most important point is this. It's a pre-battle strategy. It's all about setting your trust in the right place before the fight even begins. And this context reveals our first huge takeaway, a spiritual principle that is absolutely non-negotiable: worship before warfare. Honestly, if you can get this, it is a total game changer. The pattern we see over and over again in the Bible is just crystal clear. You seek God first. You bring the offering before you expect the outcome. Now, when life gets insane and the finals are piling up or that big project is looming, the temptation for all of us is to just drop our heads and charge straight into the work. But this psalm shows us that our prayer life, that time we spend with God, it isn't some luxury we can skip when we're busy. It is the preparation. It is the battle plan. So what does this actually look like day to day? Well, first, before you just dive into that big challenge this week, stop and name it specifically in prayer. Second, try to build a simple rhythm, Bible before laptop. It's a conscious choice that sets the tone for where your trust is really going to be. And third, figure out the offering you need to lay down. What is it? A specific plan you're white-knuckling? A fear you haven't let go of? Give it to God. I promise you can do this. Okay, now we get to the real turning point of the psalm. This is where we see a completely different kind of logic come into play. A logic that is basically the exact opposite of how the world thinks about power and success. I mean, just look at this. The slide shows the incredible contrast in the final outcome. The Bible doesn't pull any punches. Verse 8 says that those who trust in their own strength, their chariots, are ultimately brought to their knees. They fall. But those who trust in the Lord, they rise up and stand firm. It's a brilliant picture of the two possible endings to our story, and it all comes down to where we place our trust. Now let's be super clear. Our intelligence, our network, our work ethic, these are not bad things. They're good gifts, actually. But they make terrible gods. They were never designed to hold the ultimate weight of our hope and our security. And eventually, every single human-made chariot will buckle under pressure. It's just a matter of time. So all of this brings us to the final crucial step, actively choosing to place our trust in someone else. See, it's not enough to just realize our chariots will fail. We have to deliberately pivot and shift our reliance onto a foundation that we know will not.
So, what does this look like practically? Okay, first you got to be honest with yourself and with God. Name your chariots. What are you really trusting in for your success or your peace of mind? Second, repent. And don't let that word scare you. Just think of it like a U-turn on the highway. It means turning away from that misplaced trust in your own achievements or your sense of control and consciously realigning your heart, your entire direction with God. And finally, you declare it. Make Psalm 20 verse 7 your own personal statement of faith. You know, when you boil it all down, the entire message of this incredible psalm can be distilled to this one powerful command, this life-altering invitation: trust in his name. Not our abilities, not our plans, but in the personal, promise-keeping character of the God who has said he will never, ever fail us.
So as we finish up, I just want to leave you with this to think about. What specific plan, what outcome, what desire are you holding on to just a little too tightly right now? What would it look like this week to truly lay that thing down before God as an offering, trusting him with the outcome, no matter what it is?